দর্শক আমন্ত্রণ জানাচ্ছি চ্যানেল 24 এর আয়োজন জানতে চাই শুনতে চাইতে। আজ আমরা কথা বলবো যুক্তরাষ্ট্র ও বাংলাদেশ সম্পর্কের নানা দিক নিয়ে। আরে আমাদের সাথে কথা বলতে অতিথি হয়ে স্টুডিওতে এসেছেন মাননীয় প্রধানমন্ত্রী রাজনৈতিক উপদেষ্টা এইচ ইমাম স্যার, আছেন হার এক্সেলেন্সি মার্শা বার্নিকাট, ইউএস অ্যাম্বাসেডর টু বাংলাদেশ, and we also have the outgoing defense attaché Mr. Michael and the incoming defense attaché of US Embassy Miss Kainaz. Welcome to the show. Sir, we'd like to start with you. That we often see the ups and downs of US-Bangladesh relationship. Why is that?
To begin with, I must say that there are no ups and downs in our relationship. Bangladesh-US relationship over the last 30 years have been quite stable. And in any relationship, there are occasionally issues, but then through mutual discussion and dialogue, we always sort them out. I would define our relationship between the United States and Bangladesh in a few sentences. The first is that US-Bangladesh relationship is multidimensional and multifaceted. Over the last 4 or 5 years particularly, there have been a structural framework, discussion on structural framework, partnership dialogue, security dialogue, military dialogue, and TICMA Council meeting and many others. And the last meeting,
Yes.
I have a copy of the, through your courtesy, just got the joint press statement that was issued. May I read out
Sure,
one
sir.
paragraph from there? It says, the day-long dialogue covered a wide range of issues related to security partnership between the two countries, including strategic priorities and regional security issues, defense cooperation, civilian security cooperation, even peacekeeping, and counterterrorism and countering violent extremism. Both sides agreed on the importance of a deeper and stronger partnership in addressing mutual security concerns while upholding the values of human rights and fundamental freedoms. I
Yes,
think
it is.
our relationship has never been deeper and more stable.
I hope so. Excellency, after Kerry's visit, we have the security dialogue and two vital events. So, what is your feeling about this?
Right. Well, first of all, I would say that the dialogue was our 5th security dialogue, and each of these dialogues that the Honorable Advisor mentioned have been ongoing for some time now. Secretary Kerry's visit, to me, was the personification, if you will, of the relationship itself. He visited here after wanting to do so for quite a long time, was very impressed by his conversations with the Honorable Prime Minister, and really emotionally touched by his visit to the Bangabandhu Museum. So I think he finally got to feel and experience Bangladesh firsthand.
If I'm not wrong, he is the first high official from the US who visited that Bangabandhu Museum,
Yes,
right?
that's right.
Right.
Yeah.
So, how about the security dialogue?
Well, the paragraph that Mr. Imam read out, and I'm so pleased that you chose that one because it embodies the fact that there are 5 pillars to our security relationship,
Right.
and they were all embodied in that paragraph. We saw in the run-up to the dialogue an emphasis on counterterrorism, which of course is on all of our minds, given all of the tragic events that have happened this year,
Yes.
not just here in Bangladesh, but around the world, of course. But our defense relationship is much broader than counterterrorism. And in fact, the oldest aspect of our defense relationship is humanitarian assistance and disaster relief.
Right. On this security dialogue, Michael, you had observed 2 security dialogues, including this one. So, what are the places that has Bangladesh reached a bit of capacity, bit of strength? Will you please explain?
Thanks, Asib. I've had the pleasure of participating in 2 of the bilateral security dialogues last year in Washington and then yesterday here in Dhaka. I'm excited that this bilateral security dialogue coincides actually with the disaster response exercise and exchange being held in part between Armed Forces Division and U.S. Army Pacific. And we've seen the 8th iteration of the DREE, and we see great strides actually in the first pillar of our security cooperation plan with Bangladesh, and that's humanitarian assistance and disaster response. So I'm heartened by the work that we're doing bilaterally between our two militaries. And working together also builds interoperability. So when the time should come actually to respond to a natural disaster, whether it be an earthquake or cyclone, any of these events, we've had the opportunity to practice as we train. And so if the time should come, then we are very familiar with one another and how we would operate. So I'm heartened by the HADR platform.
Right. So, Kailash, what is your future plan regarding the security? How you can upgrade more, enhance more capacity to the people related to this dialogue?
Sure. And Hasib, my colleague here, has really set a very strong foundation for our defense relationship. There's no doubt. That has really come out in the meetings, the visits, the engagements that we have had over this past week. That is very apparent. So I really hope to strengthen this partnership with our Bangladeshi partners and to build upon this foundation. Mike mentioned the humanitarian assistance and disaster relief. Our focus initially was on doing the coastal management and cyclones, and now we have shifted to more earthquake-focused response and developing those plans. So taking it really to the next level and building upon this, strengthening our partnership with our Bangladeshi partners.
Right. So when we have seen the tragedy at Gulshan, so U.S. is always there to help us, and they offered their assistance. Also, along with U.S., other countries also offered us assistance. Is there any plan of government that to countering this terrorist group or this violent group who are killing people? Who government has any plan to how they will have capacity from the friendly countries? Would you like to share the government's view?
Oh, yes. We have been talking to many other groups as well, but overall, you see, as the Honorable Prime Minister said yesterday, the best safeguard against the terrorists is the people's participation.
Of course it is.
It is the people's resilience, their resistance that can overcome them. That is number one. Number two, apart from that, we have been taking a number of steps. As a matter of fact, I would also give you some information regarding what we have been doing in counterterrorism. As you know, from day one, the government of our leader, the Prime Minister, announced that our policy is zero tolerance against terrorism. And that's what we have been following right from day one. And this is one. This has been applauded by not only the US government but others as well. And over the last few months, since Gulshan tragedy, the actions that have been taken, you would see that if you take, for example, the Kollanpur action, then the Narayanganj action, the other places also. And incidentally, these days we are also getting reports about women in burqa-clad women.
The new phenomenon.
But then in most of the districts, they have been taken into custody.
But we have seen a debate between our government and the foreign friends that the remaining of IS in Bangladesh or their activities through networking in Bangladesh. How do you see this? Is that what they claim is true, or
this is
halfly
what
true or
we
not
have been
true?
discussing. No, it cannot be just black and white.
Okay.
You cannot say it is true or it's untrue. In a way, you see, terrorism, especially which is the latest is the ISIS, ISIL or Daesh, however you call it.
Right.
This is the latest.
Yeah.
But then before them, there was Al Qaeda.
Yes.
Now we see two distinct lines. One is Al Qaeda, the other is IS. Since then, over the years, if you look, there has been development of the first in 2004 and 2005. 2004, the 21st August grenade attack, and then thereafter, that was done by his one terrorist group. But then later on, The countrywide, it was about 535 places, or 435
Yeah.
places in all districts except one, Munshiganj, where there were bomb blasts, highly synchronized, all at a time, killing not only innocent men, but also there were attacks on judges. And that was the development of the JMBA,
Right.
Jamatul Mujahideen Bangladesh. Bangla hobe Afghan, Amra hobo Taliban. Now there were fighters here who were recruited and then sent to Afghanistan. They fought there, came back. They were naturally they were very well connected with Al Qaeda, and that happened with my friend. Her Excellency might not agree with me, but they have been asking for proof, and there are proofs also about movements and their connection with. First of all, under the umbrella of Jamaat Islami Bangladesh.
So
and
on-
Jamaat Islami has been providing the umbrella under which the Shibir, their student wing,
Right.
they have been doing it. It is Shibir which turned into again JMB and also other names. I was in the USA last month,
Yeah.
for almost a month. And during my stay, the terror attacks occurred in
Bangladesh.
New York,
Yes.
in New Jersey, in Minnesota, and various other places. And how could it happen? You see, at the same time, there were attacks in Paris, in London, in Brussels. All of they are interconnected.
If I jump
Yeah.
into with Her Excellency, as the Sir was saying, the politicalization of terrorist activities going around the world, and he is referring some old accidents. As the government is saying, they have some proofs that these political parties taking different names and different shapes and different policies attacking. And what's your observation regarding this? Because it's kind of debate we see.
Right. Well, I'd like to start with the Honorable Prime Minister's observations recently at the UN General Assembly,
Right.
where she referred to the fact that even small local fringe groups can be inspired by international terrorism. And I think, the evolution that you were talking about, sir, it has certainly, of terrorism, has certainly taken on a new and even more dangerous form where individuals who may not have any political affiliation, we don't rule out any group or any particular set of actors being influenced by terrorism. But I think what makes ISIL particularly unique and especially dangerous is the fact that they can reach out to individuals
Right.
who are especially vulnerable and inspire them to act on their behalf, an outsourcing of terrorism, if you will. And so, that is the newest dimension we're dealing with. It is absolutely a global phenomenon. There is no country on earth that is either safe from that kind of targeting or that hasn't been targeted in that way. And the recent incidents in the United States remind us that the U.S.,
Oh, yeah.
individuals in the U.S. are
And
very
individuals
much a
can-
target.
Individual acts.
And that makes it so important for countries to work together. Unilaterally, we absolutely cannot defeat this new form of terrorism. The United States looks with its partners to address the problem in three basic ways. We look to help increase capacity to both thwart the plans and the actions of terrorist groups. But we also look to cut off the sources of support, be it terrorist financing
Sources
or
of support,
recruitment efforts. And then thirdly, we look to help address the root causes of radicalization. And there's so many different causes to that, including democratic space. We think, going back to your point, sir, that involving individuals, we've seen a tremendous outpouring here in Bangladesh, the human chains and other
Human
actions.
chains, public meetings,
Right.
rallies, and even in the villages, everywhere.
Everywhere.
And the posters and the propaganda blast on through the television media. Media has a very important role to play here.
Of course, media has a
because
very
you must educate the people. After the Gulshan incident, I immediately talked to the the authorities in North-South University.
So, sir, on that
And-
very point, we'll come back after a short break. We'll come back after a short break and we'll discuss. We'll see the families, the new people, who kind of people getting
Yeah.
into this kind of attacks. We'll talk about that later, and we'll also would like to know your experience, how Bangladesh can do better countering these kind of people. দর্শক, সময় হলো একটি বিরতির, ফিরছি একটু পরে। আমন্ত্রণ আরও একবার, জানতে চাই শুনতে চাইতে। আমরা কথা বলছিলাম বাংলাদেশ যুক্তরাষ্ট্রের সম্পর্কে নানা দিক নিয়ে, কথা বলছিলাম কিভাবে সন্ত্রাস ও জঙ্গিবাদ বাংলাদেশ সহ পুরো বিশ্বকে ভাবিয়ে তুলেছে। On this part of show, would like to know why Bangladesh is a great partner to US in the security dialogue.
I can answer that,
Sure,
Hasib.
go ahead.
Well, I don't think there's any debate that South Asia is a very vital region.
Right.
And Bangladesh has a role to play in the security in the Bay of Bengal and overall in the larger region as well. Bangladesh is a top contributing country to the peacekeeping operations. I mean, something that the country is, of course, very proud of, something that we see as a tremendous strength, and it's really an amazing setup. They have the capacity to be able to train not just Bangladeshi units and contingents that are going into these missions, but also other regional partners and soldiers from other countries. I mean, that's a significant capacity.
And that is why I guess the bilateral military-to-military activities is very important. What do you think, Michael?
Fully agree with my colleague, Kanaz. I'm also reminded that the chairman of Navy Staff, the chief of Navy Staff for Bangladesh Navy, has just assumed the chairmanship of the Indian Ocean Naval Symposium. It's a huge honor for the Bangladesh Navy, a 2-year tenure. There'll be a multinational exercise in the Indian Ocean in 2017. All of these issues help lead to the importance of the Bangladesh Armed Forces, whether it be the Navy, whether it be the Army, serving, as Kaina said, in peacekeeping missions in Africa and Haiti, all globally. So this presence is all important. We will serve together, and it's important. And I'm reminded about being interoperable. And if we know who's on our left and our right limits, if the time should ever come to respond to a natural disaster or some other scenario, it's good that we've trained together and that we have that interoperability. And all of this feeds into the security dialogue.
And I would just add that the security dialogue also provides a framework, right, in addition to our partnership dialogue, in addition to our defense dialogue. So it's within a framework that
Yes.
we can address a lot of these issues and allows us to come together and determine, what is the way ahead? Where do we need to focus?
We will move forward, definitely. Excellency, when the Kainas was talking about the Bangladesh strategic position, as we have next to us is India and then Bay, and so to you, both of you, I'm going to ask the same question. How to work together and stop them?
This is precisely what we have been discussing. And as a matter of fact, if you look at the joint statement, it started saying Bangladesh and the United States recognized the shared threats they face and that countering violent extremist groups such as ISIS, Daesh constitutes a global challenge. The United States delegation appreciated Bangladesh's policy of zero tolerance towards terrorism and violent extremism and not allowing its territory to be used for terrorist activities against other countries. What we can do together is there are areas where we have to take the load, but there are areas, we discussed it earlier also, because there's no doubt that technologically the United States is so far ahead of the rest of the world that this is where they can help us, number one. Number two, with information. The United States has the capacity to gather information throughout the world. I visited the Office of the Homeland Security, Department of Homeland Security, the Assistant Secretary Bartson. Now, we discussed many things, and then he took me aside. The routes now that they are following, the human trafficking is one of the biggest threat that we face today. And trafficking includes, you say, they have changed their routes. They're not going now via Malaysia or via Singapore and other countries. They fly from here to Dubai. From Dubai, can you imagine, they fly all the way to Sao Paulo in Brazil.
Okay.
And from Brazil, they trek all the way up, you know, through the jungles, Amazon jungles or other places, and they gather in at a place near Panama. There are Africans, there are Arabs from Syria, there are other places, but also, of all places, there are some from Bangladesh. Now, the effort and the money that is spent, if that could be, you see, with that, there are so many opportunities within Bangladesh. They could set up a small business and thrive. Look at the way the people are thinking these days, and this is what is happening, and that's why we have been attacking the.
And these are maybe one of those root causes, right?
Yeah, money laundering is one. That is, and we have now very strict money laundering laws. London is the point where most of the fund is collected. That's a hub, and from there.
We heard the same.
Yeah. And from there, they bring in, when they come to Bangladesh, and they bring in small amounts of money. Just imagine, if you have 100 persons coming from London to Dhaka, each carrying 5,000, how much it is?
It's a big amount of money.
And that is where money laundering is very difficult.
Excellency, how you can together maybe stop these root causes and the money laundering thing?
Let me give you a couple of examples. One is, again, going back to the global nature, the information, the technology that the U.S. has and others have only provide a piece of the picture. So, for example, if Bangladesh authorities are aware of students or adults, families even, who have disappeared, by sharing that information with us, then we might be able to track whether or not those individuals have traveled into the United States, or there's a global network that we're hoping that Bangladesh will join, where we can, we can track people crossing any number of borders, which could give a clue as to whether or not they've simply gone somewhere to start a new life, or have they gone somewhere to become increasingly radicalized. In terms of terrorist financing and money laundering, we have a robust set of training programs where we've worked here and in London on how to tighten the banking system. One of the great successes that the U.S. has had in the last year in fighting Daesh is in denying them access to the international banking system and stopping their access to oil or to getting that oil into world markets. In addition, trafficking routes support the flow of illegal money, the flow of illegal people, and the flow of illegal substances and arms. And so the ability to prosecute those crimes is a lot harder than the kinds of crimes our prosecutors usually see. The United States set up special prosecutors, including one in the Southern District of New York. And those prosecutors and judges have been trained in the complexities involved in transnational crime. And we're looking to sign shortly, we hope, an agreement with the Bangladesh government to help establish a special prosecutor's office here, because if the police are successful in doing their job and finding these suspects, then the next step is to make sure that they get successfully prosecuted and taken off the scene. So that's another important piece to this.
That is a good initiative, definitely. But how to stop this ideological transformation, especially to the young society of Bangladesh?
That can be done. That is what we are doing now. If I can give you a picture of what we are doing officially, but unofficially also. As I said, the biggest the pillar against them is the people's power, the population, general public. I think we have been able, and the Gulshan tragedy, that has aroused the conscience of the total the people of Bangladesh as a whole. That's why you see so many marches, rallies, meetings everywhere, and it is continuing. And also, you will see the actions that the police have taken so far, police and other law enforcement agencies. They have been tipped by the members of the public. Secondly, if in the institutions we now make them more conscious about our rich culture and culture of the tolerance. You will see, you will go to North-South, for example. Their emphasis is, all the emphasis, focus is on studies, studies, studies. No sports, there is no playground, they have no cultural activities, nothing. But side by side, there are also some groups who go and they separate themselves. So that is something we have to know. This is one. Second, I strongly advocate that we see the background of the members of the faculty. Who are they? So that
I think
family
Ambassador
background
has
is very
something to say.
important.
Asif, can I add
Sure.
a couple of points, because
Sure,
I think
sure.
that's all very important. The issue of whether or not those individuals who are being seduced into this lifestyle, I think it's important to recognize a couple of, again, global factors that we need to take into account. This generation, and we know that people in their 20s, even in their 30s, can be especially vulnerable as they are still trying to find their place in the world and figure out where they're going. And Daesh in particular seems to be very skilled at finding these individuals. They tend to spend a lot of time on the internet. And of
Yes.
course, the
It's open.
social media and the internet are some of the most powerful tools we have now, both socially and economically. It's important to urge that people reach out, that you look for signs that your child or your friend is isolating themselves more, is feeling more aggrieved, is spending more and more time on the internet, and draw them back into family life, draw them back into social life, draw them back into interacting so that they're less vulnerable, not more. I read somewhere recently, and I think we're all still trying to get a handle on exactly how people are being influenced in this way. And I read a piece that talked about terrorists seek to be the heroes of their own story. And I think around the world we're seeing a level of cynicism and disengagement that is worrisome. You know, for me,
That is it.
you know, we should seek to find ways to bring these especially vulnerable groups back into the fold and make sure that they see that they have a stake in society and can have an influence in their society and their political systems.
I'll
So-
add something here. You see, if you go through the background of the people who are missing, in most cases you will see that they are, unfortunately, most of them are novo-rich. Most of them think that, well, my son or daughter he goes to the university, I give them money, whatever money is necessary, I give them car, they let them enjoy themselves. That's the attitude. But then they don't ever look at what they are doing. They don't engage them in any conversation. Together with it, the social activities, cultural activities, and also voluntary activities, you see, helping others and bringing them out, that is most important. And that community policing,
Oh my goodness.
on the other
yes.
side, that is very
Absolutely.
important. Very important. And that's why we are now trying to organize community police. It is the community who will do the policing. And in most cases they are doing so. This is most important. Educating the public, educating members of the public, common men.
We have to take a break and then we'll come back and talk about more about these issues. দর্শক, একটা বিরতির সময় হলো, ফিরছি একটু পরে, সাথেই থাকুন। দর্শক, আবারও আমন্ত্রণ। জানতে চাই, শুনতে চাইতে আমরা কথা বলছিলাম, আমাদের আলোচনার এক পর্যায়ে আমরা কথা বলছিলাম কমিউনিটি পুলিশ নিয়ে। স্যার, as we are talking about the community police and people communicating and taking care of the whole scenario, apart from these, we also have friends like India and China, and how the whole region can work together and stop the terrorism, and we can move together.
As we know, USA and India, they're working very closely.
Yes.
As a matter of fact, they have even signed an agreement recently
yes.
in sharing the bases and also countering terrorism and you see, stopping the flow of money, not only money, resources, but also stopping flow of human trafficking and all that. But we, from Bangladesh, we are at a vantage point. We have, you see, very good relation with USA, very good friendly relationship with India. We have also have very good relation with China. With China, we have huge business relation. With USA, I think the USA is our largest business partner. With India, unofficially, it is much larger. But then both the Indian government and our government, we stand on the same footing. For example, you look at the recent summit that was to be held, SAARC summit to be held in Islamabad. Because it was India first said that they will go, but then Bhutan followed. And subsequently, Bangladesh sent a note verbal to the SAARC summit saying that Pakistan has been interfering with our internal
issues.
too many times, and not officially. The Pakistan Parliament has been passing resolution against the trial of war criminals here, and then their ministers have been uttering words which are very undiplomatic and all that. And we say that under the circumstances, unless Pakistan stops, we cannot participate. So the majority, 4 countries, when they say they won't go, Pakistan itself has Pakistan is to be the next chair of the summit. Nepal is the current chair. So we sent our note verbal to the SAARC secretariat, and that has been postponed indefinitely. And now what we are worried about is the you see, confrontation between India and Pakistan on the Kashmir front. This is, I think, a really flashpoint. And both of them, as you know, have nuclear weapons. That is all the more worrisome for all of us.
Yeah, we definitely want any war.
But here, USA has a very important role to play.
How?
Because USA has leverage both on India and also on Pakistan. Because Pakistan is a recipient of US military assistance and large, not only military assistance, but also other kind of assistance also. That's a big handle. So I would request USA to intervene also. And China similarly can, it has influence on Pakistan. They have to, because they are on the brink of a war. This is something, this brinkmanship must stop.
Excellency, do you have any point to it?
Absolutely. The United States can strongly condemn the terrorist attack on September 18th, and of course, we issue our condolences to the victims and the families of all those affected. The U.S. is committed to our strong relationship with both India and Pakistan, and of course, Bangladesh. And we are urging both countries who must resolve the issue between themselves to do so. And we're urging that for the sake of those 2 countries, for the region, and as you say, sir, for the world. This is a very dangerous confrontation. And we want to see it resolved in a way that allows this region to get on with the business of protecting itself against terrorism, but also in advancing its economic activity.
I think someone needs to take some initiative to have the discussion, to sit in a table. But that may take a long time. But we have to end the show, and thank you all for coming to this show. And it was really a good debate, a good understanding, good discussion between all of you. দর্শক, আমরা শেষ করছি আজকের মতো। আমরা কথা বলছিলাম নানা ইস্যুতে বাংলাদেশ যুক্তরাষ্ট্রের সম্পর্ক সহ আঞ্চলিক সম্পর্ক কিভাবে একসঙ্গে এগোতে পারে এবং সমাধানের নানা দিক নিয়ে। দেখা হবে আগামী পর্বে। সে পর্যন্ত সুস্থ থাকুন, নিরাপদে থাকুন।